When a person first hears the word constitution, images arise in their mind of lofty justice, of a solid foundation upon which the whole of society rests. The Constitution is seen as a sacred text, composed by the wisest of the wise, an embodiment of truth itself, that unchanging truth meant to protect a person from arbitrariness, to grant freedom and guarantees. It rises above states like an ancient temple, whose columns withstand the storms of history, whose words, like carved symbols in stone, carry an unshakable sense of justice. Oh, how beautiful this myth sounds! How many inspired speeches are delivered about the supremacy of the Constitution, about its inviolability, about it being our greatest treasure, a bright beacon guiding the ship of the nation. Politicians place their hands over their hearts, swear oaths in its name, promising to live by it as by scripture, to defend it from encroachments, to see in it the highest truth. And so, opening this manuscript of eras, an ordinary person reads the lines, "All people are equal before the law. No one may be deprived of their rights. Power belongs to the people." Ah, what poetry! What a noble sound! One might think that if the Constitution says so, then so it must be. But then why is it that in this document, so grand, so fundamental, there was no place for the most elementary guarantees? A great book of human rights, a sacred scroll of freedom and equality. Why have you so deftly bypassed the simplest, yet most essential principles? Why is there no mechanism within you for recalling power? Why, in you, so celebrated and supposedly infallible, is it not written that a person can verify those they have placed above themselves? If the Constitution is the absolute of rights and freedoms, how did it happen that the people, the source of power, find themselves hostages to their own elected representatives, with not the slightest lever of influence over them? Is that not absurd? Every driver is required to periodically confirm their qualification, or they lose their license. A doctor who makes a mistake may lose the right to practice. Even an ordinary worker who fails in their duties can be dismissed. But a politician, the one whose decisions affect millions, is untouchable for years, like a monarch elevated to the rank of a celestial being. O Constitution, what a strange document you are! You speak of justice, yet fail to ensure the independence of those who are meant to uphold it. The court is supposed to be a stronghold of truth. Why then is it always so closely tied to those it is meant to judge? Where is your wisdom if the highest judge is appointed by the very power that is subject to judgment? What kind of game is this at the crossroads? And perhaps the most ironic thing is your quiet pliability. Constitution, you are so proud, so unshakable, so unbreakable, until power decides to rewrite you. And suddenly, your words become pliable, like wax in warm hands. Where necessary, they tighten. Where beneficial, they loosen. If only an ordinary person could adjust their life so easily, reshaping the rules to suit themselves. You are not tablets carved in stone. You are not a code of eternal truth. You are a tool in the hands of those who hold power. You are a mask behind which the true structure of power hides. You are a beautifully wrapped scroll of illusions, bound in silk words, so that people will believe in the fairy tale that their rights are protected. But do you know what is most frightening? The Constitution's gaps, its silences, its carefully crafted omissions have become so embedded in society that people no longer even notice them. They believe you are their shield, not realizing that this shield is riddled with holes the size of an entire system of power. And so the question remains, if you truly wish to be what you are proclaimed to be, the foundation of justice, Why have you so skillfully avoided the most important guarantee of that justice? Why did you not write into your lines that the people must have the right to recall power at any moment? Why did you not give every person a tool to control judges, politicians, those who govern? Why do you speak of freedom, yet fail to provide a mechanism to protect it from those who steal it? Constitution, if you truly stand at the head of the state, if you are the highest law, why did you fail to secure the most basic thing? Perhaps because you are not law, but a screen, not a guarantor of rights, but a cleverly drafted agreement in favor of one side. A true constitution is one that serves the people, not those who sit above them. It does not fear transparency. It does not evade responsibility. It does not allow power to become unaccountable. It does not turn into a paper tiger that roars at the weak and purrs before the strong. But in a world where such constitutions have not yet been written, all that remains is laughter through tears. The Constitution is not law, but a theatrical set, behind which the real mechanisms of power are hidden. Those very mechanisms that remain invisible to the ordinary person, tangled in a web of bureaucracy, woven into the fine threads of legal language, written so that no one but the chosen few can unravel them. These mechanisms do not require direct orders or repression. They work more subtly, more elegantly, more softly. They replace reality with a convenient illusion, hiding it behind loud words about rights and freedoms. For what is power if not the art of shaping perception? Power is said to come from the people. But where is it ever seen that the people, as the true source, can shut off this flow when the water of the river becomes poisoned? Where is the mechanism that would allow people to say, "No, we do not agree. We recall you. You have failed our trust"? Oh, how cleverly this game is arranged. The Constitution enshrines the right to choose, but only at moments convenient to the system. It does not allow the people to touch power too often. No, why would it? Once every few years is quite enough to change the scenery, replace the masks on faces, but not to change the play itself. All for stability, they say. All for predictability. But predictability is not needed by the people. It is needed by those at the helm. They need to know that no matter what decisions they make, no matter what damage they cause, no matter whom they betray, no one will stop them. They can collapse economies, start wars, break every promise they ever made, and nothing happens. Because the Constitution, the great guardian of human rights, somehow failed to include the most essential right, the right to remove those who deceive the people. It gives a person a voice, but only for a moment. And then that voice is taken away, sealed inside a ballot box, and like in an old fairy tale, turned into a pumpkin. And from that pumpkin, people are forced to live for years, to endure, to wait, to hope that someday the moment will return when their voice briefly matters again. But here is the question: why does power fear immediate accountability so much? Why does the one who is supposed to serve the people panic at the thought of being recalled by them? Should this not have been the fundamental principle of democracy? Is it not logical that someone who fails at their job should immediately step aside? But the Constitution says nothing about this, because the Constitution is a document written by power to protect power. These are their rules of the game, their insurance, their zone of protection. It functions as a wall between the people and the real levers of governance. People can shout, protest, demand, but their voices shatter against the smooth, impenetrable surface of official formulations. And if you are too persistent, too bold, too loud in demanding justice, then there is another tool for you: the law. A law that will not stand on your side, but on the side of those who wrote this Constitution. A law that protects the system, not you. Where is it written that the law must be just? Where does the Constitution say that laws cannot serve abuse? Where is the clause stating that the people must control not only those who make decisions, but the judges themselves, so that they serve justice, not the system? There is no such clause, because the Constitution protects not justice, but order. An order in which the people remain on one side of the wall and power on the other. People continue to believe in this wall. They look at the Constitution as a sacred text, not realizing that it is merely a set of rules written by those who never intended to follow them. They call it the supreme law, not understanding that it has never been a law for those who stand at the Verkhinna Vlasti. And so the question remains: how many more generations will worship this paper idol? How many more years will people wait for power to suddenly, miraculously correct its own mistakes? But power does not correct mistakes. It hides them. Power does not admit weakness. It masks it. Power does not share rights. It holds onto them like a constrictor wrapped around its prey. They all want to rule forever. But what is stability? It is the absence of change. It is the guarantee that no one will disrupt the established order, even if that order is unjust, even if it is rotten. That is why constitutions protect power more than they protect people. That is why they contain no right of immediate recall. That is why no judge depends on the people, but only on their patrons. And whenever someone raises the question, why can't the people judge judges? Why can't the people recall power? Why can't we control those who govern us? The answer is always the same. It threatens stability. And what remains then? The illusion of participation. The illusion that every few years the people decide something. The illusion that the Constitution guarantees anything. The illusion that laws protect us rather than those who write them. But here lies the paradox. If the Constitution does not protect the people's right to control power, then what is it for at all? If it lacks the basic mechanism ensuring that power remains accountable at any moment, how is it different from a beautifully formulaic contract where every clause benefits only one side? And as long as this question remains unanswered, the endless spectacle continues. Every few years the scenery changes, politicians step onto the stage, promising a new course, honest governance, a just society. They swear loyalty to the Constitution, deliver solemn speeches, place their hands upon its pages. But not one of them even hints at giving the people real power over power. Not one speaks of including in the Constitution the right of the people to recall, to judge, to control every decision that comes from the halls of governance. Because then the spectacle would end. Power would end up where it is not meant to be, in the hands of the people. The Constitution would cease to be a convenient mask, hiding a mechanism of exploitation, and would become a real social contract, where the rules are set not by elites, but by those whose lives those elites control. But this will not happen as long as people continue to believe that the Constitution protects them. As long as they do not see that it is merely a carefully crafted illusion, a tool for controlling consciousness. The Constitution is a symbol of faith. It hangs in halls of power, inscribed in gold on marble, quoted in solemn speeches. It is like sacred scripture, believed in, but never truly read. And even when it is read, it is not understood. People have been taught, The Constitution is the law of laws. It must not be touched. It must not be criticized. It must be respected. But can respect be demanded for something that is, in essence, a trap? Can one respect a document that protects the interests of the few, not the many? Look at it closely. Is it not strange that it sounds almost the same in every country? It always promises freedom, rights, democracy. Can anything suspicious be sensed when the words are so correct, so beautiful? But look deeper. Is there a right in it for a citizen to control how their taxes are spent? Is there a mechanism allowing the immediate review of any political figure's actions and their removal if necessary? Is there a guarantee that judges are accountable not to closed circles, but to ordinary people? Nowhere in the world is there a constitution that contains such mechanisms. Because if they existed, the systems would collapse. Not because they are bad, but because they are unsustainable in their current form. Because without permissiveness, elites cannot exist. That is why the Constitution does not truly allow you to change it. Yes, formally, there are procedures, commissions, referendums. But look at who writes the amendments. It is always the same people who benefit from things remaining exactly as they are. Can the people recall any political figure at will? No. Has anyone inserted a clause requiring full transparency of the state budget down to the last cent? No. Has anyone ensured that the entire judicial system must report directly to the people? Of course not. They can change everything except the most important thing. They can argue about systems, numbers, procedures, but they will never touch their main privilege, to remain beyond control. And that is the core principle of any state. The elite must remain untouchable. That is the main rule of the game. Everything else is detail. That is why, no matter how different states may appear, the system functions the same everywhere. Somewhere it calls itself democracy. Somewhere it openly admits authoritarianism. Somewhere it dresses itself in religion. But the essence is identical. The people are a resource. Power is a parasite feeding on that resource. And as long as people believe in the Constitution, as long as they think it protects them, they remain within this captivity. But ask a single question. Why does the Constitution not allow the people to control power? And the illusion collapses. And then it becomes clear. The Constitution is a contract in which only the obligations of the people toward the state are written. The obligations of the state toward the people are not. There are slogans, noble words, but no tools, no mechanisms. Power exists beyond control. It is like a train without brakes, racing along tracks it laid itself. And the Constitution is merely a sign promising that there are no brakes in those tracks. But there are. Collapses, dead ends, blockages. You are simply not told about them. That is why everywhere in the world people complain about the same things. Weak courts. Elections that change nothing. A constant feeling that their voice does not matter. Because it truly does not. Because the Constitution, so often spoken about, is not for you. It is not yours. It was never written to protect you. It was written to protect those above you, those you do not see, but who shape your life, those whose names are not spoken on screens, but whose orders are followed without question. The Constitution is not your shield. It is their fortress wall. It is designed so that you believe in its strength, but so that it never works against those who created it. You can protest, you can shout about your rights, but you will never find mechanisms that allow you to truly change anything. The answer depends on whom this system serves. You, or those who strengthen their power year after year. They built a system in which you are allowed to choose only from options they themselves have offered. You are allowed to vote, but not to decide. You are given freedom of speech, but denied freedom of influence. You are allowed to complain, but not to change anything. That is why any of them can ignore your demands without consequence. That is why judges never judge those in power. That is why in this game you always lose. And if someone tells you this is democracy, ask them, why does the Constitution not state that the people can recall power immediately? Why are judges not accountable to citizens? Why are budgets closed? The answer is simple. Because it is not in their interest. Oh yes, they do have control. Internal control. The kind they create for themselves. A facade, a lightning rod. Sometimes they even remove one another when interests clash, when internal struggles begin. But this is not control by the people. This is control within a closed circle. For the people to say directly, we recall the leader, we recall those we chose. No, that must never be written. That would break the rules of their game. A national controller elected by the people? The ability to truly oversee those in power. Direct influence of the people over governance. To them, this sounds like a violation of the system itself. They will only allow internal control, the kind that either slows everything down or removes the inconvenient when it becomes useful to the system. The Constitution is a fairy tale written for you so that you do not think about reality. But reality is this. A true Constitution, one that protects the people, will be written only when the people realize that they have never had one. And only then will humanity have a chance to change the system in which every new ruler swears loyalty to old laws designed to keep you exactly where you are meant to be. Because the truth is simple. Your life, your rights, your future are not determined by what is written in these books. They are determined by your willingness to break the illusion and create your own constitution, one that, for the first time in history, will be written not for power, but for the human being. Dear friends, if this video truly left a thought within you, if, even for a moment during watching, you felt that conversations like these are still deeply necessary for people, help this project not disappear within the endless flow of empty and superficial content. Your subscription, like, and especially your comment, are not just a formality for YouTube. They are a sign that people still need deep ideas, honest conversation, and a genuine attempt to understand the world a little more deeply than modern life usually allows. Write what you felt while watching, what you agreed with, what you would argue against, what thoughts appeared in your own mind. Because it is precisely from these living responses that a true space for reflection is gradually born. A space that is becoming rarer and rarer in the modern world. And if you feel that these ideas may matter not only to you, share this video with your family, your friends, or anyone who may also need this kind of conversation right now. Perhaps it is through such small steps that the return of genuine thought, real dialogue, and deeper human connection truly begins. This was Vladislav Abramov. Until next time.